What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome to another episode of the No Huddle Show, our Philadelphia Eagles podcast for NJ.com. This is Cayden, Steele, and joining me, as always, will be my co-host, Bob Brookover. The Eagles are coming off a victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was, once again, pretty ugly. Similar to the victory they had the week before, that was ugly, and every other game this year that's been kind of ugly. So we're going to talk about this 4-0 start, and why it's been so inconsistent in these wins and how it can be corrected, and some of the good things that we're also seeing. As we also preview this Week 5 matchup against the Broncos, give our predictions for that game, and tell you whether this is going to be a 5-0 start or this is going to be the Eagles' first loss. But first, this episode is brought to you by Penco Tech. With two convenient campuses in Blackwood, New Jersey, and in Bristol, Pennsylvania, Penco Tech has provided comprehensive hands-on career training for more than 50 years, featuring programs in HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and automotive technology, and more. With dedicated instructors and career placement assistants, Penco Tech can give you the skills and confidence to build a brighter future. Financial aid is available to those who qualify. Learn more and take the first step by going to pencotech.edu. Let's get right into it, Bob. The Eagles this past Sunday beat the Buccaneers in a game that was different than the week before, where the Eagles dominated the Buccaneers in the first half. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. The offense was hitting on everything that they were trying to do. The passing game looked good. Jalen Hurts looked comfortable. And at that point, I really thought they turned a corner. I was thinking that Kevin Batul just needed the first month of the season to really get comfortable in his role, and he found his footing, and he had a good feel as a play caller now, and here we go. The offense is going to be electric. And then in the second half, it just sputters out completely, and it looks very similar to the first half against the Rams. And you wrote after the game about the locker room, atmosphere and the silence, the players that didn't talk, and even in the locker room on Wednesday, you could tell players. AJ Brown talked, and other players that I talked to, you could tell were frustrated. What is your interpretation, or kind of just like your feeling on where this team stands right now? Well, I mean, they're 4-0. They just beat another NFC contender, but it's been imperfect, and there's frustration. It's a weird thing, kind of, because they've beaten good teams and they're 4-0, but it doesn't feel like they're 4-0.
They're 4-0 Eagles. I mean, everything's great. Nothing to see here. They're one weird team, especially based on the last two games. You know, a lot of people right now want to compare what's happening at the moment to the 2023 Eagles, the team that collapsed. And I understand that team was winning every week in a very fragile way, a lot of close games, not looking great. I would say right now, though, that the 2024 Eagles, at least through four games, look a lot like the 2023 Eagles did, at least through four games, in terms of what they're doing production-wise, especially on offense. Although the 2024 team numbers were better than the 2025 team offensively. I mean, the Eagles have 609. Jalen Hurts has 609 passing yards. Yes, he has a over 100 QB rating or passer rating, but they're not throwing the ball for moving the ball very much by throwing it. And then on top of that, Saquon Barkley has a 3.1 yards per carry. So what was an explosive last year, this time he had 6 yards per carry after the Tampa Bay 4 games into the season. I mean, so those kinds of numbers are very concerning to me, even though they are winning. But they do they do two things really well, not just offensively as a team. They do it better than anybody in the league, and that is red zone efficiency. 12 for 12 times into the red zone, 12 touchdowns. That's 100%. The next best team, I think, is Miami at 80%. And that was, I haven't looked recently. I think that was before they played Monday night, was the last time I looked. So I don't know if that's gone down. But the Eagles are 12 for 12. You do that, you got a good chance to win. The other thing, and Nick Sirianni talks about it all the time, explosive plays and turnovers. Maybe you can replace the explosive plays with being so efficient in the red zone, but turnovers and takeaways and turnover differential, they're +4 this year. Haven't lost a turnover battle yet in 4 games. Last year they were losing the turnover battle every week, and that was one of the primary focus and one of the reasons they wanted to start running the ball more. Jalen had 7 turnovers after 4 games. I think he's had 5 or 6 in the 21 games that have followed. And the Eagles in those 21 games that have followed are a +32 in the giveaway, takeaway department. And if you do that, you're going to win a lot, and they win a lot. That's all they do is win. But are there concerns? Sure. I mean, they've had one game on offense with more than 300 yards. So yeah, that's a concern. I think the concerns are less on defense and more correctable.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens going forward here. It's another really tough challenge, and I'm sure we're going to get into that in a minute in the Broncos. But we'll see how things go going forward.
Yeah, the offense, the way it's playing currently, it's not sustainable. AJ Brown talked yesterday, and I thought I would touch on this. Obviously, he posted the 2 cryptic messages after the game on his X platform. One was the Bible verse from Mark, basically saying, paraphrasing a little bit, but feeling like he wasn't being heard, or at least that's how people interpreted what he meant. I talked in the locker room yesterday, clearing the air, saying that he's happy to still be in Philadelphia, pretty much, and that his frustration really just lies with the fact that the offense hasn't been productive. And he said, as a part of the conversation I was having with reporters yesterday, from his perspective, that he knows that the offense, especially, or not the offense, but the defense and special teams have been low key carrying us, and that's what he said. So, and that is true. The way that they're playing on offense is not sustainable, and I don't know when it gets fixed or how it gets fixed. But I mean, we've seen in these halves against the Rams and against the Bucks, they have the ability to do it and get really hot on offense and get into a rhythm with this passing game. I mean, Jalen Hurts looked incredible from the second half of that Rams game, the halftime of the Bucks game. Jalen Hurts played outstanding. The offense was in a great rhythm. And then something happens just in the second half where they're just completely out of rhythm. Like, he doesn't complete a pass. They don't finish with any passing yards in the second half. I don't think you see that very often from an offense, especially an offense with the talent that it has with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert. And like, it's a concern. It's hard not to be concerned. It's 4 weeks now. So it's not too late for things to become more consistent, but it's 4 weeks where an offense really hasn't found an identity. And I think the other concern, Bob, is I'm not sure if they're going to run the ball at the same efficiency that they did last year. They keep saying that they're 1 block away. I talked to Jordan Mailata yesterday. That's what he said. Kevin Patullo's repeated that. The run blocking hasn't been very good, though. The pass protection hasn't been very good. You have an interior offensive line with Landon Dickerson right now, who I believe he's given up 3 sacks. And I forget the pressure number, but I believe it's like over double digits. And then Cam Jurgens is not playing as well. Tyler Steen's a new starter at right guard. I haven't talked to Cam personally, but I mean, he had back surgery this offseason, so you wonder if he's healthy, if he feels healthy. Tyler Steen got a little banged up in that game. You have an interior offensive line that's struggling right now. Jordan Mailata also told me on Wednesday that Landon Dickerson, no matter what you tell him, he's going to go out there and play. He's not going to want to let you down. So he's obviously playing through pain. And whether that's a good thing or not, I mean, I've seen some people throw out maybe the Eagles should shut him down. I don't know what the Eagles should do because he's not playing well. And then you have Lane Johnson, who's gotten banged up 2 straight weeks. What was a strength, I don't know if it's a strength anymore. So we want to talk about Kevin Patullo all day. And I think there's reason to be concerned about Kevin Patullo. The bigger concern with this team is the thing that made them so dominant over the last 2 or 3 years is not dominant right now, even if Nick Sirianni didn't want to touch on it yesterday.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that it is not dominant right now, and Saquon Barkley is willing to take the blame. And as I look, one of the things Saquon said is, "I got to be better on first down because it's putting them in unmanageable situations," and he's right about that. The question is that more about Saquon, or is it more about the offensive line, or is it a combination of both? I mean, Saquon in the second half on Sunday, first down in the second half, the first series -3 yards. Second series, the second series didn't involve him. Jalen got 7 on first down, but then 2 incompletions. The next series, Saquon 2 yards on first down. They actually did recover from that to score after they got the turnover on the fumble that was recovered by Keely Ringo. And that was the one series they actually looked good, but even that wasn't explosive. It was 2 yards by Saquon, 3 yards by Saquon, a scramble for a first down by Jalen, and then they had the tush push fake to Saquon, which was a terrific play. Great call there. But then after that, you're right back to Saquon for -2 yards on first down on the next series after that. Let's see, it's Saquon -2 yards on first down on the series after that, and then Saquon 1 yard on the series after that. It was the last one was kind of you kind of knew the Eagles could run the ball out, but you get the point. That if you're getting negative yards or 1 yard or 2 yards on first down, you're in trouble. That's offensive series is immediately in trouble now. And that's to your point. Landon playing hurt. You got it. Tyler Steen got banged up on Sunday. Also, his first year as a starter. Cam is it's October, so we're talking about 8 months removed from back surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add in Lane, who's playing really banged up right now, 2 weeks in a row. He's had to leave the game with the shoulder issue, which I think is still a stinger. So that leaves you with one healthy offensive lineman who's played great. But I'll say this one good thing about the Eagles locker room: Jordan Mailata's played great, and he's standing in the locker room after that game saying, "Well, or that first run by Saquon in the second half, I missed my block." So you got you do have a bunch of guys who are accountable, which that's a way that you can get things fixed. And obviously a year ago they looked like a very broken team in many ways, and defensively too last year at this time, and they found a way to fix it. So I mean, and it's pretty much, I don't think Kevin Patullo, what he's doing is all that much different than what Kellen Moore was doing last year as the offensive coordinator. So I mean, if any team can fix it, I would say the Eagles can do it. But if guys don't get healthy, these are human beings. If they're not feeling right and not able to play at the level they're at, then you got a problem. And so we'll see what things go forward. I mean, Jeff Stoughton, yes, he's a great offensive line coach, but he's not a miracle worker.
No, and you can't fix injuries. I mean, if Dickerson and Juergens just never feel healthy throughout the season, they have down years, it's going to affect your offensive line play. The run game's not going to be good enough. And in that sense, the passing offense, as long as the pass protection can hold up be a little better than the run blocking. I don't think the pass protection's been great either, but I think the run blocking's been a little worse. The passing offense might have to win this team more games. Looking at Saquon Barkley, another stat is that last year, before contact, he had over 3 yards per carry. This year, he has less than 1. So it just shows you the offensive line is playing a big factor in that. He's getting hit before he even gets a yard. on most of his carries, so or a lot of his carries. But for the offense, in the passing offense, having to be the one that potentially has to carry things this year. What's your thoughts on the AJ Brown situation? Him not talking to reporters after the game, him going to social media to express his frustration. He obviously addressed it yesterday, took some accountability, said those messages weren't directed for anyone. Um, Look, we don't have a lie detector test on him. We don't know whether he's telling the truth or not. But obviously, he is frustrated with this offense, with someone, with something, which is understandable. But what's your thoughts on the situation with AJ Brown? It feels like every year we're talking about this, at least the last 2 years. But what is your interpretation of AJ right now?
Well, I'll start with this. It's a different world. I mean, the wide receiver position, the stereotype for forever, it seems like has been, if you have a star receiver, I don't know what the odds are, the percentage is, but there's a chance, a decent chance that you're going to have a diva if he's a star wide receiver. We can go down a list of names: Odell Beckham, Des Bryant, Antonio Brown,
Yeah.
Randy Moss. And the big one to all Eagles fans, Terrell Owens, who I covered. And AJ Brown is not in that category, although we live in a different era. Those guys didn't live in an era where I'm not going to talk today, but I'm going to go to my social media and post Mark 6:14. I think it was Mark 6:14. But and now the whole world is left to, well, what exactly does he mean by that? Who's he talking about? And it's a different world, and I don't know AJ Brown that well, but I do know that the Eagles have been through this kind of thing before with AJ. They seem to know how to deal with it. And AJ seems to be the type of guy who, well, he gets it off his chest, and then uh, he goes and comes to practice, works hard. He's not saying, oh, I don't want to be here. He's not, and as long as that's the case, two things: as long as that's the case, and as long as the Eagles are winning, you don't really have to worry about it. Winning will cover up a lot of issues. I can the New York Yankees, Bronx Zoo, the Oakland A's. This is long before your time, Cayden. They've had some of the ugliest, meanest battles in their locker rooms, clubhouses they ever want to see. Guys who just despised each other, but they won. So at the end of the season, they were all jumping into each other's arms and saying, "Ain't we great?" And we saw the issue. I mean, it was a bigger issue last year when Brandon Graham not inadvertently, but got involved and then had to say things and unsay things. And at the end of the season, there's at the Super Bowl, there's the clip of AJ and Jalen Hurts standing on the sideline next to each other and telling each other how much they love them, how special they are. So as long as they win, it's all going to be cured. But I don't think AJ is like this explosive personality that's going to, like an Antonio Brown who's going to walk off the field, or a T.O. who's going to have a temper tantrum and do sit-ups on his driveway. He's not that kind of person.
Mm.
But if things do turn and they start losing games, does it snowball and get bigger than it is now? Yeah, if the offense isn't working, but at that point, it's going to take the offense not working for it to get to that point, and the team start to lose. At that point, who really cares what AJ Brown's saying if you can't fix it?
Yeah.
So.
And he won't be the only one frustrated at that point.
Right. When you start losing, lots of guys start speaking up.
Yes. And it's good that you brought up the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts video and the Brandon Graham thing. I see fans talk about all the time because when they acquired AJ Brown, everyone saw the FaceTime with him and Jalen Hurts, and that Jalen Hurts was the godfather of I believe of AJ Brown's kid, and that they had this tight best friend bond, and people were wondering after the Brandon Graham comment last year saying, they didn't really get along, and the fact that they don't see them maybe as publicly anymore, whether they're best friends. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter. I mean, like that video kind of showed you they still have respect for each other and love, but I mean, work changes things. I mean, their relationship could be very different now that they play together. They could possibly, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but they could possibly butt heads more. And that's natural when you're working with someone and you're around someone 24/7. It doesn't really matter though, like you said. But I mean, if they're winning games, it does not matter ultimately. And the offense has to figure things out. But the good thing is that they have figured things out when or they have to figure things out now. But they're 4-0 and they're figuring things out. Last year, when they figured things out, they were 2-2. It was a lot more concerning because of the record and how 2023 ended.
But
They're playing at half of their ability, and they just beat the Bucks, Rams, and Chiefs, teams that you can argue are all contenders in
right.
their conference, and a Cowboys team that just put up 40 points against the Packers.
Another thing to remember here about the AJ outburst
Mm-hmm.
and the one from last year is, so he had that outburst, and the next week the Eagles put up 270. What was it? 270 passing yards, 401 total yards, and blew out the Steelers. And they were celebrating on the field. So, when that kind of thing happens, and the passing offense was pretty good for the rest of the year after that. At times it was really good, but so when AJ sees that, maybe he thinks, well, maybe that's my best way to get my message across, because the last year when I did this, things turned around. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens this week, but
could be a part of it, right? I mean, even after the Chiefs game, he was very frustrated, kind of like bit his tongue on some comments. He wouldn't talk, so you could see this was building. He had a great Rams game too, so in that second half, and showed you he's still like a fantastic player, and they have to find a way to get him involved. And maybe that comes this week. I think it's going to be challenging though. They're 4-0. They've won a lot of good games. This might be the best defense that they've played so far, arguably. And AJ Brown's going to probably see a lot of Patrick Surtain. And I don't know if he's going to consistently get open in that matchup. And I'm not sure if this is the week the passing offense gets fixed. But let's get right into this game. The Broncos are 2-2. And coming into the year, had a lot of high expectations, made different moves on this defense, getting Greenlaw and Hafagana, and then they have Nick Benito really ascending into a superstar edge rusher, really, in this like Zach Allen on the interior. They have a very good defense. Riley Moss at corner. They have a good Jahdae Barron. Like they are stacked across the board on defense, holding teams under 20 points this season so far. 16 points a game, under 100 yards rushing, less than 200 yards passing, 168 passing yards a game. So across the board, they have a really good defense. The offense, maybe not as scary, but there's some similarities, according to Vic Fangio, to the quarterback they faced last week in Baker Mayfield and Bo Nix. So we'll see what happens. But this is a Denver team coming into the link, and to me, this feels like your perfect trap game.
yeah, if the Giants were good, I would say yes, that was the case, and I still don't think the Giants are very good, even though they just beat a very good team in the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's just a trap game. I think that the uh, the the Broncos are a good team. They won opening week, and then they lost at Indy, who's proven to be a pretty good team by a point. Uh, and then they lost at the Chargers by 3 points. So I mean, they have two losses, but two losses to teams that are pretty good teams. And then they just destroyed the Bengals and put up 512 yards of offense on Sunday. So they're coming in as a very confident team, I'm sure, after that game. And obviously the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow, which which makes a big difference. But Bo Nix got himself going in that game. Completed had 326 yards passing, a couple touchdowns. So it is a very tough game, whether it's a trap game or not. That doesn't really matter. The Broncos have allowed the second fewest points in the NFL. Excuse me. And they lead the league with 15 sacks. Nick Benito, as you mentioned, he's got 4.5. He leads the team with 4.5. It's a good team there, so it's going to be a rough game for a team that is struggling on offense. I'm eager to see it. The Eagles have already beaten 3 playoff teams this season, and now they're getting another team that made the playoffs last season.
Yeah, and I think this is a matchup defensively on the Broncos side for the Eagles, for the offensive line, and for Jalen Hurts. That's going to be extremely difficult. We talked about how banged up they are in the interior. When Zach Allen lines over Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen, I don't feel good about that matchup, and there could be some interior disruption. They can kick John Franklin Myers inside. They have DJ Jones. I mean, they have a strong interior, and that's not even talking about their edge rushers that are really good. Even though I do believe Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson kind of can neutralize Nick Benito and their other edge rushers pretty well. But saying that, it's still not an easy matchup, and they could get some pressure on Jalen Hurts. And coverage-wise, they can blanket wide receivers. So I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do on offense. And for that reason, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But going to the other side of things, I'm not buying into this Denver offense. Vic Fangio gave Bo Nix his respect, and I'm higher on Bo Nix probably than most people. I know some people don't like him, don't think he's a good quarterback. Some people think he's a really good quarterback. I'm somewhere in the middle where I think he's a solid quarterback, but I really don't buy into this offensive personnel for Denver.
To me, Sean Payton does him a big favor though.
Yeah,
by making sure that he doesn't abandon the ground game. And J.K. Dobbins has been playing. He's been playing his butt off. He had 16 for 101, and he's averaging 5.7 yards a carry.
Yeah.
The biggest thing a coach can do for a young quarterback is to stay true to the running game, and the Broncos through 4 games have done that and been a very good running team. They're 5th in the league in rushing right now. So
yeah, and that is going to be the biggest challenge, because I do not feel the passing game will be much of a threat, and really that's because Bob, what we've learned over the last 2 weeks about this Eagles defense is that Quinyon Mitchell can shadow great NFL wide receivers and just completely shut them down. Pretty much did it to Devontae Adams in the Rams game. Only gave up 2 catches. I forget the exact yard total, but I believe it was like 12 yards. And then he shadowed Emeka Ibuka for most of that game and shut him down. Ibuka's only touchdown came on the play that Andrew Makuba messed up, where he wasn't. Yeah. Quinton Mitchell can isolate your best wide receiver. So if he's able to shut down Cortland Sutton, which I think he can, and look, as much as we wouldn't talk about Quinton Mitchell being great, which he is, I mean, Patrick Surtain, who won Defensive Player of the Year last year, who plays for the Broncos now, said that Quinton Mitchell's in his top 5 corners right now. You can make an argument he's playing the best of any corner in the NFL right now, and that he's a legitimate all-pro candidate. And with how he's playing, it's easy to forget sometimes how good Cooper DeJean is playing as well, by playing to a similar level. And it's a little underrated a little bit because he's a nickel, but he's playing fantastic too. I mean, you have Eagles cornerbacks I think can take away most of Denver's top weapons in a group of wide receivers for Denver outside of Cortland Sutton that I don't think are that good anyways. So I'm not really sure how much Denver can get things going with Bo Nix. So going back to your point with the running game, if they can shut down J.K. Dobbins, if they can shut down R.J. Harvey, who've been very efficient on their carries this season, I think they're both averaging both averaging 5 yards a carry. So Denver's getting a ton of push up front. Very different than what the Eagles are doing right now. They have a good offensive line, but if the Eagles can stop the ground game and make Bo Nix beat them through the air, I feel really good about that matchup. But this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be defense, and the Eagles aren't going to get anything going on offense, and I don't think Denver is going to get much going on offense, which means ultimately the turnover battle and the special teams play could determine this game again.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to imagine uh, any team in the NFL playing better on special teams than the Eagles are right now. Um, yeah, a stat I just happened to accidentally bump into yesterday while I was looking up something else was so the leading special teams tacklers in the league right now. Number one is Kylen Granson. And these are guys we haven't even really mentioned because they weren't involved in these big plays, the Jordan Davis return, but they're like doing their job big time on special teams. Is Kylen Granson has 9 to lead the league. Jeremiah Trotter tied for second. He has 8, and then you go down to tied for eighth with 6 tackles is Sidney Brown. So you got 3 guys in the top 10 on special teams tackles, and then Keely Ringo is among the leaders too. You got a lot of guys here who are making an impact on teams, and that there is no argument right now. The Eagles best unit of the 3 units has been the special teams. They've been great. When you add in kicker Jake Elliott's been great. Punter Braden Mann's been great. The coverage has been terrific. They've returned, with the exception of the Rams game when they couldn't handle the knuckleball by Cardi. They've been really good on kickoff returns. That unit, Michael Clay's unit, has been the best on the Eagles so far this season.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
you're good. This is a Denver team that I'm not going to take lightly. They're very good, and this is a tough test. I think it's their toughest test in the next 4 weeks with um is the Giants twice, right, and then Minnesota and Denver. This is the one where I feel like the Eagles are most likely to lose because Denver is balanced. You got a good ground game, you have a good defense, you have a good chance of winning any game in the NFL. And this defense, I mean, it's just all across the board too. I mean, they have good safety play with Brandon Jones as well. Um, they're Jonathan Cooper has 2.5 sacks. I meant to mention him across from Nick Benito. They have everything on this defense. They're loaded. Jonah Ellis coming off the edge. So they have deep edge rushers, good linebackers, good safeties. It's a team that really we have to look at as you look at the AFC picture, and I still think they could end up being one of the better teams in the AFC. They have a really good roster. What do we think is going to happen in this game? Are the Eagles about to go 5-0 against another tough test? I mean, I don't know if they're better than Tampa Bay and the Rams, though. Like in terms of just like where I think they will end up at the end of the year, but like stylistically, this is a team that could potentially match the Eagles pretty well.
I agree with you on 2 points. I think it's a very difficult game, and I also think there's a good chance it's going to be a low scoring game. I also think the Broncos. I know they just put 28 up on the Bengals, but the Eagles are not the Bengals. They're better, a much better defense than the Bengals. And I think the Eagles are going to give Bo Nix fits. I think Vic Fangio will have a game plan for Bo Nix that, unlike maybe any he's seen before, might you've heard many veteran head coaches with offensive minded head coaches who were offensive coordinators talk about how Vic Fangio often is the toughest defensive coordinator they've gone against, and I think that's what Bo Nix is about to face. And you know, the Broncos have put up points by running the football efficiently, and they did so by passing the ball well also last week. But I could see I could see the 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 Broncos turning the ball over some Knicks. They turned it over 4 times on opening day against the Titans. So I could see the 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 Eagles winning the turnover battle again and using that to their advantage to give the offense some short fields and win this game.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to go out and say this is a game where I do think they win ultimately. And this is no disrespect to Bo Nix. I think he is a fine quarterback, but he doesn't really put any fear in me personally. I mean, he's averaging 6.3 yards per pass. And look, it's not everything, but he doesn't really push the envelope down the field. His long this year is 52 yards. He is pretty efficient at 65% completion percentage, but he's also thrown 4 interceptions this year. So he's not the best at protecting the football so far. And you have an Eagles defense that forces a bunch of turnovers, that have just a nose for the football. Makubo with a pick against the Chiefs. Uh, Jahad Campbell last week, and they forced fumbles too. So I mean, and the running backs for Denver are pretty good at protecting the ball, but I mean, the Eagles just have a knack for that. I think they're going to force some turnovers in this game. Denver won't have enough on offense, and ultimately, I trust the Eagles personnel just a little more, not just a little more on offense, a lot more. It's been sloppy so far, but this is an offense that has a ton of talent, and if they get things going, they could be one of the best units in the league. Denver's defense is a challenge and it's difficult. I'm not sure if this is a week, but if it came down to if I had to trust an offense to make 1 or 2 plays, some big explosive plays, which the Eagles really haven't done all year, but if it comes down to that, I just have a little more faith in the Eagles than I do Denver. I expect this to be like a 20-17 Eagles victory, and they go to 5-0. And honestly, Bob, as many problems as we've talked about the offensive line and whether Kevin O'Toole is a good play caller or not, and what is going on with AJ Brown, and even if we want to talk on defense, the edge rush, I still think is a huge work in progress, and maybe that turns a corner eventually. But I still think there's some concerns there, and we don't really know exactly how consistent cornerback 2 is going to be throughout the season. Like, there is concerns on this Eagles team, but they're 4-0. I think they're going to go 5-0, and I don't know when they're going to lose. So we're talking about how many problems this team has, but there are problems, but it's still hard to say. I mean, for me, they're still the best team in the league, and they have a ton of problems, and they're winning with a ton of problems.
You could very easily look at the schedule, especially if they get past this week, and then they got at Giants, at Minnesota, who has a quarterback issue right at the moment. Got a lot of talent, and then home against the Giants, you can see it going to 8-0, and then you got to buy in before you go to Green Bay for a Monday night game, which could be the place where they end up losing their first game. But yeah, you can see a path to 8-0. And if you get to that path to 8-0, that means they've gone 27-1 in their last 28 games, and I think the only team that ever has had a better one-loss stretch in the history of the league is like the 72-73 Dolphins, who went unbeaten in 72 and then won the Super Bowl again in 73. I think they had a stretch where they went 29-1.
Wow.
So you're talking about one of the best one-loss stretches in the history of the league. So it's it's uncharted territory for the Eagles and their fans to have this much success. But there's enough drama to go along with it too, which always makes things interesting.
It definitely does, and that Packers game to me, I even Green Bay, I think maybe at the beginning of the season, I was like, it's tough to play in Lambeau anytime, but I was thinking they were the biggest competitor potentially for the Eagles after the Micah Parsons trade. Um, I mean, this is a team that just gave up 40 points to Dallas, and they lost to the Browns the week before. And I have big concerns about that offense. And the defense showed that, I mean, I don't know if the Eagles can pass the ball like the way Dallas can, but it showed that it can be beaten. I'm not as worried about Green Bay as I would have been. I look at that schedule, and I think there's a decent chance that Detroit's the first loss, and that Detroit is the team that, if the Eagles continue to be inconsistent, it could be the team that knocks off the Eagles in the regular season and in the playoffs right now.
Right. Uh, I think Detroit was your pick at the beginning of the year,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes, I did still stick with. I thought Green Bay would be better than what they were right now, but I have always thought that Detroit.
Yeah, I mean they were the best team in the league last year for the regular season. They were the best team. They were banged up by the end of the year, so they weren't the same team.
No,
And then they come out this year with a loss to the Packers at Green Bay on opening night,
yeah,
and didn't play well in that game. I think they only had 246 yards of offense, and that caused some concern since they had lost Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator. But then they come back the next week against Ben Johnson and put up 511, 426. So they've proven that they have a ton of weapons. Yeah, they're going to be a tough team, and that game comes the week after the Green Bay game. So
yeah,
coming out of the bye, the Eagles are going to have some real difficult assignments. They're going to have their act together better than they have it now, because I mean they're not going to run the table and go 17-0 anyway,
no.
But they need to be playing better than they're playing right now, and they're aware of that. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's a good point. These next 4 weeks are kind of a warm up for what is to come later in the season with Green Bay, with Detroit, with Buffalo. Schedule gets a lot more difficult. And we'll see what happens down the stretch here. We'll see what happens on Sunday, whether the Eagles go 5-0, whether they can fix this passing offense, whether the offensive line can hold up against Denver. It'll be a good challenge, and it'll be interesting to see what plays out, whether this is the game where the Eagles put together a consistent performance, the drama kind of dies off, they go to 5-0, and hey, this team's going to go down and probably run the table again, or things going to unravel a little bit. We'll find out more on Sunday, but thanks for everyone for listening to today's No Huddle show. We always appreciate you guys coming back to listen, and new listeners. And make sure you read our written content for Eagles this week as we get you ready for this Week 5 matchup against Denver. We'll talk to you next time.